coming up with the music and putting the whole thing together. Have you been in there the whole time? That's hysterical. My wife just walked out of the club. Shock, about gave me a heart attack.
Today for our podcast, Cory Morrow, a true Lone Star legend. He's sold more than 200,000 records independently. He's probably gone way more than that. Placed nearly a dozen songs on the country charts. One of the first people I was introduced to when I was introduced to the Texas Red Dirt scene, and I've been a fan ever since. Cory, thank you so much for joining us on the James Cook podcast, buddy.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
It's been a minute since we've been able to sit down and talk. I got to dive into some of the tunes that you released early on my walk this morning, because if you go online, you can not only pre-order the album that's due out in October, but you can take a little sample of some of the tunes. Very, very excited about that. Then I went back and listened to some of the tunes because they were sent to me. So I got to cheat a little bit and listen to some of those tunes.
Good.
One thing that I've always noticed about your music, especially recently, and I think it's the powerhouse behind it, it's really what brings Cory Morrow to the forefront, is your ability to be as transparent as possible. So whenever you're doing these songs, because you're writing, like, I read this and it's just perfect, from religion to strippers, which I just love, because that is a spectrum of music that you've got going on, or at least content of what you've got going on. So what was the decision to be as transparent, and how does that really play into what you're doing?
Well, it's not necessarily a decision as much as it just kind of flows naturally out of me to tell everybody everything. I'm kind of an open book. My wife will tell you that. And I don't know where it really comes from. I can theorize. I was, in therapy when I was young, very young, and was in therapy for most of my young to adult life. And so I think the skill of being able to express what's going on inside of me verbally, in order to analyze it and deal with it and work through it, started at a young age. And so I think that being the way that I write songs just kind of makes sense that, like it's like therapy for me. Writing songs is like therapy. And I get out what's going on inside of me. I celebrate, I lament. I go through all the ups and the downs in the song, and tell you kind of everything that's really going on behind the scenes, hopefully in a more poetic way than just saying it. And that's kind of the fun of the music and the songwriting. But so I think was just sort of ingrained in me at a young age to be transparent,
open and honest. While you're writing the music, and whenever you're kind of sitting down and revealing some of this stuff, is there anything that like kind of opens up to you, something that you recognize while you were writing, something that was revealed to you that maybe you didn't notice?
Yeah, sometimes while I'm writing, I'll be saying things like, I'll talk to myself like, what is it that is going on right now, or what why am I writing this? And I'll sit there and talk to myself, and that always helps kind of open up and dissect really what it is that's troubling me, or what it is that I'm trying to discover. And so I'll have aha moments going, oh wow, yeah, like, oh, that's what's going on. That's a good way to express it. I didn't even realize that I see it this way.
A good example of it is whenever I was listening to Whiskey and Pride. While I was listening to it, I was remembering the interview, because you came to Wichita Falls. We sat down and talked about that album, and you had a lot going on in your life at that moment, and a lot of reflection. So while you're going through, like, do you ever go back in your catalog and just go like, man, I remember feeling like that, or just kind of reflect a little bit on a time of Cory Morrow, or an age of Cory Morrow?
Yeah, I like I don't do it super often, but I do enjoy going back and listening to the whole albums, and going back in time, really, for me, because each album is a chronological, like, if you place them in chronological order, it's an autobiography of what's going on in my life. It's basically the story of my life through the music, which is kind of fun to go back in time and say, yeah, wow, I wrote that about this girl, or wrote this about this time. I was, struggling with drugs or whatever it is that it was happening at the time. And yeah, I used to speed a lot, and yeah, I liked fast cars. So yeah, I definitely go through the old ones and I'll remember. And sometimes what's funny is sometimes on stage, you can get to a habit where you're not really thinking about the words, you're just singing the song. But on the nights that I sit down and I'm listening to the words that I'm singing, sometimes while I'm singing it, I'm like, oh wow, I remember why I wrote this, and I remember what was going on, and then when I get done with the song, I'll say, man, typically I just space out when I'm singing to you guys, but this time I was really thinking about the words, and I said, this song was written during this time, and this guy and I, we were on a hunting trip, and this is this thing that happened, and I a lot of times will go off onto these really bizarre tangents, sort of take an ADD left turn and on the stage in the middle of the show, and I think it's hysterical because I just start kind of with no filter, start talking about what's going on in my mind, and the people kind of like, what's wrong with him, and then I just look at them and I say, "There's nothing wrong with me. Sorry," and then we go on to the next.
It must be, I mean, fun to go to a Cory Morrow show. Getting into your music means getting a life revealed to you while you're watching it. I've always thought that was your brand, which I really dig about your brand. I do want to talk a little bit about this album, this upcoming album, The Letting Go. Now, on the last album, Whiskey and Pride, you got to work with Lloyd Maines. On this album, were there any musicians? We'll talk about the songwriters, but I really want to talk about the musicians that you were able to work with on this album. Was there anyone that you were excited with for this project?
What was exciting was that I used my band. I didn't really, a lot of times, and typically in the past, we've hired out pretty much everybody except for my guitar player, John Carroll, to be the studio musicians to make the record. And this time I went to my band. I've got an extraordinary band right now, and I went to each one of them, and they are all studio musicians. And so I said, I want to make this record with you guys, and it'd be that much more fun when we play the songs live because you were in there recording them and creating with me. And so that was really a really neat part of doing this album. In addition to that, the coolest part for me was I got to produce this record, and I think it's pretty much like the first record that I really have produced solely by myself, saying this is, I'm the guy. I'm that last line of defense. I'm going to make the final decisions. I've never really done it that way. I've always, with Lloyd, I would say, Lloyd, what do you think? And the engineer, Pat Mansky, I've worked with him a whole lot. He's been the engineer on a lot of records that we've done. And I was talking to him about that. I said, help me along here, because I've never really actually done this, even though Lloyd's always telling me that I should. And I said, so what are some tips? And he says, well, the best tip I can give you is all producers, the line that all producers say is, I don't know, what do you think? And I said, oh, I'm good at that. I'm great at that. And he goes, yeah, if you can learn how to say that pretty much after every take, then you're a great producer. And I was like, I'm the best producer.
That's perfect. Well, excited about that, for you being able to do your first production. That sounds incredible. Is there, besides the, this is all just me, was there anything that you were kind of like you prepped before, or is it just all kind of learn as you go?
I did a lot. I did a whole lot of listening to the songs and trying to get ready, because I never really have done that before. So I knew what I needed to do, and I did the best that I could, and spent time with some of the guys in the band about talking about some ideas, so that when we got in the studio, we'd have some direction and it wouldn't just be a free for all. And so it was good to have that sort of like slotted out, like have some direction and have some form. It was just really, it was really cool to be able to say, okay, we're going to go off in a direction here, and I want to get creative, and I want you to kind of take it and go this way with it, and let's see what happens. Because you don't know if the spaghetti's ready until you throw it against the wall. So I'm like, let's just keep throwing stuff against the wall. and let's see if it sticks. And it was a lot of that. And working with our fiddle player, Jean Janson, he his first time or second time we had him in the studio, but he played on every song, and working with him on the melodies and the transitions and what to do in the song to kind of create a melodic feel was really fun, because he was very complimentary and amenable to all the ideas that I had. And I'd say, what if you did this? Na, 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 na. And he'd play it, and I'd go, yeah, but do a little staccato right there. And he'd go, oh, like this? I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, that's cool. And so that kind of, rapport going back and forth was really fun. It gets you kind of fired up, and, and you're like, oh, we're creating, we're making something new. And I can't wait for people to hear it, because it kind of becomes your child,
That's always a really cool feeling, the ability
Yeah.
to grab something that's in here, because whenever you're doing it, you realize, like, no, you're saying things out loud, and you kind of realize, this is primitive. I know way more than I'm doing.
Right.
But whenever you hear the art or the musician
play
what you just came out of your head,
Yeah.
it is the most unreal feeling in the world. So
It totally is.
Yeah.
I think I want to be the producer moving forward, unless we find somebody who's just, like a rock icon or something like that we could work with, and we get a blessing, something like that falls into our lap. I think being the producer is something I'm excited about doing from here on out.
That's really cool. Congratulations on that,
Yeah.
on that first feat. And I'm sure you're going to see more. One of the things that I love about your music as well, whenever you release an album, is I like to go straight to who did he write with this time. I've seen that you wrote with Dirty River Boys, Shane Smith. One of my personal favorites, Brian Keene. He's just such a great guy. These are great humans and incredible songwriters. So on this album, one of the things I noticed, the first one was Dalton Domino.
Yeah.
I believe helped you write the title track, Letting Go.
That's right.
Or The Letting Go.
Letting Go.
Talk to us a little bit about working with Dalton on that single.
Man, it's funny, because I found that song, and I had remembered it. And I remembered that I liked it, but I hadn't listened to it in a while. And so I pulled it up and started playing it. And man, the way that he was singing it on the rough track that we did on our phones, whenever we get together, we'll start playing, we'll start trying to write something. And then, we both have the same little audio recorder on our iPhones. We'll hit that and record. And that's basically what we've got as a rough track is what we play on our phones. So I've got this ridiculous long list of stuff that we've been doing. I pulled it up, and I'm just like, man, he sang it with so much passion, and in the way that he phrased everything, I was like, that's not typical for me. But I really like it. And I was trying to remember, where the substance came from. Where did these words come from? Like, what were we trying to accomplish? And then as I started listening to it, I started kind of realizing and remembering, like, oh yeah, I wanted to kind of bring it around to having a faith direction, and he did too, but he also wanted it to be more poetic, and so that it was something you really had to like dissect and listen to every single word, and almost have too many words. And I was like, okay, let's see what that looks like. And he's just a poet, man. I mean, he's just an amazing poet. And so coming up with the music and putting the whole thing together. Have you been in there the whole time? That's hysterical. My wife just walked out of the club. Chuck about gave me a heart attack.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry to laugh that hard, man.
You look beautiful.
Perfect. The way you looked. What the? I'm sorry. Go ahead. You didn't see what I saw. It was perfect. I'm sorry.
No, I can't wait to watch that back. Yeah, so he has a great way with words, man. I could never have written that song by myself. And that's what I love about co-writing, man, because you find somebody who's got just some flair and personality and characteristics that you are attracted to, but don't come naturally to you. And so then you bring in your little piece of the ingredients, and you pour in your, like, what about this? And what about this? And if each person is humble and able to to hear, and then be able to say, yeah, I like that, but I don't like this. What about this? And each person's like, yeah, yeah, okay. And your egos don't get in the way. Man, you can write stuff fast, and you can write cool stuff, and because you're both just open to hearing what the other person has to say, and also, give each thing a chance. So writing with him, I would say he wrote a whole bunch of that song. Like, I was listening, thinking like, what words did I write? But but I was definitely in the room, and I was definitely participating. But I love that song, man. I love singing it. I love playing it, and I love the way that it paints the picture. And you kind of really have to read the words and think about what it's saying in order to get to that final place of like, I found myself in the letting go. And it's like, well, what are you letting go in what? It's like, it's almost, not to be cliched, but it's like letting go and letting God. It's just the letting go of the hold on reality of thinking that I have, that I'm in charge of everything, that I can make my life any which way I want. And there's truth to that. You can guide your life and guide and direct it. But there's sort of an illusion of control as well. When you recognize that there is a God, and he does love you, and he does have a plan for your life. And when you can let go of wanting to hold the reins and say, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. This is going to be what's best for me. And say, I want to let you show me what's best for me, because I trust that you have what's best for me in store. And so that's like the bigger picture of what it's all about for me.
I absolutely love that song. It is a song of surrender. And I felt that one when I was listening to it. So really, really killer stuff. I'm so excited about this album coming out in October. One last thing before I let you go, though, I do want to talk about another co-writer. I know that you wrote your latest single, that
Yeah.
song, with Keith Gattis.
Yes, sir.
And I want you to talk a little bit about him. He's a songwriter that I know meant a lot in your life. So please let us know a little bit about him and the song and how it came about.
Yeah, man. Keith was, I met him, and I guess it was like 04, 05. It was right after I had kind of had a whole bunch of bad stuff happen in my life, been arrested and lost sponsorships, and just kind of had to try to figure my life out. And I was writing about it. And he played guitar for Dwight Yoakam. He took Pete Anderson's spot when Pete Anderson left. He's produced ridiculous amounts of records for people. He's written ridiculous amounts of songs for people. El Cerrito Place is probably, in our genre, the most famous one. And everybody knows that Charlie Robinson sang El Cerrito Place. Well, that was Keith Gattis wrote that. And he was just, I did drugs to try to tap into the spiritual side of my life, to try to be able to get really deep down and write about the things that were of a visceral spiritual substance. And in order to get that out of me, I thought I needed drugs to do that. And so to be in touch with that side of my life, it took drugs. Doesn't anymore, but Keith walked around able to tap into that whenever he wanted. It just flowed out of him. He was just a very deep and spiritual person. So to be able to, I mean, we've produced a couple of records together. He's written and produced records for Wade Bowen and many others that you guys know, but Jack Ingram, and it's just a phenomenal individual. And he passed away a couple of years ago in a tragic accident at home in Nashville. So it's been a horrible loss, but there's so much good that he brought into our lives that I just, I'm overjoyed when I think about him. And writing that song was all about, I came to him and told him what was going on in my life. I hadn't seen him in a while. And I was like, man, this is all the stuff that's going on. And it's a lot of change, and it's a lot of good. And I want to be able to express it, but I also want to talk about the life that I used to live, and kind of bring the two together about life on the road and kind of what that looks like now. And so we started talking about the idea that most artists, when they're starting out, and even as they're, in the middle of it all, if we can find the one song that blows up and becomes a big hit for us, we believe that it'll take us on this trajectory in our career to where we can, we'll hit another level, and that'll last us through the rest of our career and our lives. And even if it's like one hit, if you're one hit wonder, it still takes you to that next plane. So we're all in search of that song, that big hit. And so that's kind of where we got onto the conversation of, okay, let's make it about that. Like all the touring and all the craziness and the honky tonks and the truck stops. It's all about trying to get down the road to find a place in your life where you can write that song. I think of Dewey Cox and in Walk Hard. He's like, Dewey Cox can't go on stage now. He has to think about everything that's happened in his life. And before he goes on stage, and he finally he wrote the best song of his life. The one song that's what that movie is all about, is him trying to find that song. And so as we were talking about it being just a song, I was saying, it's more than just that. It's the thing in life that we're all searching for. What is it? It's the meaning. It's a meaning of life. And I found it, and I wanted it to be expressed in a way that would be relatable to most everybody that was listening to it. And so that song is about finding, whatever it is that you think is that big thing that's going to make your life complete. And for me, it's my faith. And it's the journey of getting there. That's so much fun. And people keep thinking it's about the destination. It's about writing that song that you still haven't sung, but it's about the journey that gets you in the process of writing it. And so I love playing that. I love playing that song. And we laughed about it when we made it too. And we wanted it to be very much a Waylon Jennings feel. So we kind of ripped off Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way feel to it, where it's like dong, 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 dong. And so that's kind of where the whole feel came from. But we were laughing when we were writing it because, he says, wasn't that long ago, people call up radio stations and you could say, hey, I want to hear that song by Cory Morrow. And they'll say, which song? That song. And he started laughing, at himself while he's having this conversation with a radio DJ, trying to explain which song. He's like, it'll be great. People will be cracking up.
We're going to play that song from Cory Morrow. That's actually really good. That's actually really, really funny. Genius stuff. Love the new album. I love what I've heard so far. I'm very, very excited. October 31st, that is Halloween this year of 2025. You can grab that brand new album, The Letting Go. We've been talking with Cory Morrow. And Cory, I want you to know personally, for me, I started back with 94.9 The Outlaw back in 2010. Yeah. I was introduced to your music then. I remember hearing songs and going like, man, that guy's had a crazy life. And then I got to know your story, and it made me go like, wow, this guy's actually reflective. And then I got to meet you. I think this was in 2018 when you were doing Whiskey and Pride, and your story just stuck to me. So as somebody who has gone through a lot in his life and had some hardships, and who finds these tunes in order to keep me focused in faith, or focused in who I am and where I want to go. Your music has always done that. So I just want to thank you personally for that, man. It means a lot to me that I'm talking to you right now.
Thank you for saying that's an honor, man. Thank you.
I'm
honored to be a part of that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Lone Star Legend. I'm just going to keep saying it over and over again. Lone Star Legend Cory Morrow joining us today on the James Code podcast. Again, go check out his new music. You can pre-save that album now. It's going to be a big summer for him. Looking forward to the spring. And then, of course, the release on Halloween. Is there a reason why you said Halloween this year? Or you just thought it was a fun date you looked at?
I produced the album, but I have not had any production control over it. I hired a team, and they, I'm trusting them like I trust the pilot on the airplane. When I get on, I'm just like, this is what you guys are being paid to do. So you tell me what the best date is, and let's, what should we do? And so I didn't honestly know until just now that it was going to be Halloween. So I'm going to ask them about that.
That's awesome. It's just a fun date. Or at least that's what I saw on your Spotify.
Should be. I mean, that's an interesting date. Maybe it'll be a huge success, and people will be like ready to have a new album on Halloween when they go out with their kids. I don't know.
Fun stuff. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us on the James Code podcast today, buddy. Thank you.
God bless you, brother. Thanks for having me.